Hi friends, Suzanne here. Welcome to another paper pumpkin alternative video on my YouTube channel and blog. If you're new to my channel, I want to say hi. This video will share 5 alternative projects to stretch your paper pumpkin supplies. If you don't know what paper pumpkin is, click the link in the description box below and check it out. I always show what's in the box before I ignore all the instructions and create my own masterpieces. So come along with me as I attempt to create out of the box. Hey friends, welcome to the May 2022 Paper Pumpkin Alternative video. Again, this kit was for May. I was on holidays, so I missed this one, but I'm catching up now. This card was designed to make 10 cards with envelopes. It came with a basic gray Stampin' Spot. It advertised the paper pumpkin for June, which it always sort of does, gives you a hint of what's next. And then it's talking, this one was talking about the new in colors that we have with the annual catalog that just launched here in May. I think it was May. There's so many catalogs going on right now. So here are the instructions. The name of this paper pumpkin is called Celebrating in Color. So every year Stampin' Up comes with new colors. There's 5 new ones and they overlap. They're in our selection for 2 years and they overlap by 1 year. So these are the new in colors that they're featuring, and as you can see, this was how you were supposed to create the cards in the kit. They also give alternatives on the right hand side, and you can see all the stuff that came in the kit on the left, and it even has coordinating Stampin' Up colors here at the bottom. Orchid Oasis, Parakeet Party, Starry Sky, Sweet Sorbet, and Tahitian Tide. So this is the, let me see what color. This was the Starry Sky card. I'm bringing out my envelope sword. It's called Excalibur, no joke. You can find it on Amazon. And I have ripped apart this envelope. So I am going to make a card face front for this. I've often said if you want to duplicate my card designs here that you would need some basic white cardstock. And sometimes I throw in a colored cardstock here and there, but it's rare. I have cut this card front down, this envelope, to be a card front. The sizing is 4 by 5.5. And I have been asked to show how I cut things, so I'm bringing out the trimmer. It's probably a really exalted tool, but let me tell you, there's a lot going on with these little trimmers, I tell you. This was the card front. I just sort of cut it so that I'm able to die cut a circle. That is my mini cut and emboss machine. It stays really close to my desk. It is very, very handy. And I just cut a circle out of that gold splattered piece. All right, so now I am seasoning my stamp just to make sure I get a good impression whilst I stamp. And I'm inking up with Starry Sky ink because that's an in color. And I know we had basic gray that came in the kit, but I'm using this color instead because I kind of wanted it to be monochromatic. Now, those 3 circles, the way I placed them there, I loved it. So I am keeping them that way. This is a piece of vellum from my stash. I cut it at 3 3/4 by 5. I'm attaching it to the top of that envelope piece. And then I'm putting all of it onto my basic white card. So I have some washi tape that I just sort of stuck onto my circles and I adhered them down in the manner that I wanted them to. So basically the Just For You circle, some of the dimensionals are double stacked and single stacked over the large splotted circle. And the large splatted circle has dimensionals on it, and the gold lined circle is adhered directly to the card. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm throwing down. And basically here are the embellishments that came in the kit. They're in colored, so I just added 3, and that is my card number 1. Moving on to card number 2. These are the components that I'm going to use. I actually chose not to use that white card, the simple white card. It does come in the kit, but I end up using the back side of this card. So I'm slicing this in half, so at 4 1/4. I end up removing my card base there, and I'm just going to use that one. So here we go, and I did the same sort of technique in another video, another paper pumpkin video. So if you like watching the paper pumpkin videos, you've probably seen me do this before. What I'm doing is I'm setting the card up at 1 1/2, like a 1/2 inch. Okay, and then with that dark colored cutter, I'm at a 1/2 inch at the beginning of the cutter, and I'm going to cut or slice a little frame. So here I am at 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to go to 3 3/4. And there's little notches on the little cutter piece, the dark gray cutter piece there. So I can tell exactly where I'm going because there's a measurement on the actual arm, the I don't know what that thing's called, the thing that you put down to cut. So I close up here. I'm trying to give you as much information as I can, direction as I can. So basically that frame was 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, but I cut on the 1/2 inch on the inside. I'm adhering that to my Starry Sky card base. There's a little bit left over, and I'm just going to trim that off with my scissors just to make it all nice and even. And then that extra white piece that I cut from the back side of the card is size 3 by 4 1/4. I've put dimensionals on the back, and I've put that directly on the front of my card. Here's a happy die cut, gold foiled die cut that came in the kit. I have put dimensional adhesive on the back side, and I'm placing that on the card itself. And then I'm going to stamp again with my Starry Sky ink, and on one of the little sentiment strips that comes in the kit. And it says, "To celebrate your day." I'm going to trim that down and then put adhesive behind it and stick it to that little extra strip of Starry Sky cardstock. First of all, I have to say that blue and gold go really well together. Gold and white go excellent together. It almost feels like, to me, with this added blue, that it is a masculine card. It also could be the card for, you know, like somebody who is, you know, it's like a sports color almost, yellow and blue. I don't know. I don't know much about football or any other kind of sports other than kickboxing. So, and here is a little trick. I sometimes stick the sentiment on my take your pick tool to get my fat hands out of the way so I can see what I'm doing and to make things straight. All right, here comes the Starry Sky little classic dots here, really handy Didn't like the way that placement was, so I moved one to the other side. Having trouble these days putting dots down. Anyway, that is card number 2. Here we go with card number 3. Of course, you guys, if you have watched my videos before, I like you to vote on which one is your favorite. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and sometimes I even have a bonus. So this one and the last ones are my favorites. I am using Stampin' Blends, which is an alcohol marker that Stampin' Up has for offer, and these are Tahitian Tide, so they're the new in colors. And I am coloring with the dark Tahitian Tide on the bottom third. The middle third, I'm using the Tahitian Tide Light. And then I'm also using a color lifter on the tips. Now, I've sped this up real fast so that you're not going to get bored with me. But I will say this, that the paper that I'm working on right here from the kit, it is very porous. So the ink is coming through very, 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 it's like spreading. So these are, this is my little trick to stop the spreading. This is a pigment pen. I got it from Amazon. It is called Signo White. Signal Ball White by Mitsubishi, I think it is. Anyway, it's a pigment white ink. You can search for it. Anyway, I colored any little bleed spots, and once the bleed spots dry, they're fantastic. All right, so, and you can't really see that there has been any bleeding from the Stampin' Blends. Okay, so here we have the gold spotted piece. I cut to 4 1/4 by 3, and then this piece was just 5 1/4 by, let's see, 4. I have a measuring, I'm measuring as I'm talking to you guys. So this is Tahitian Tide. It's probably my favorite in color right now. I'm using the splotches, and I put that 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of card. It was the back side of the card, if I remember correctly. And then this piece, like I said, is 3 by 4 1/4. And I smothered it with Stampin' Dimensionals. I should actually have like something that I can stamp on my video saying that when I'm abusing the the Stampin' Up Dimensionals, because I think it's kind of funny how many Stampin' Dimensionals I go through, you guys. Anyway, the Best Wishes was also put up on Dimensionals. I really like the look of white to mid to dark. I liked the gold with this blue as well. It does not look like a sports team to me at this point. This is a beautiful, I don't know, it's a seaside color to me. Okay, here we go with card number 4. We're just whizzing through these today. I'm becoming like really efficient with my paper pumpkin videos because, you know, I made 3 this weekend. Aren't you proud of me for catching up? All right, so I took these little pockets that were supposed to be for the gift cards in this kit, and I chopped them to 1 3/4 by 2 1/2. I left more color on the bottom than white, so I chopped off more of the white. And then the white piece was 3 by 5 1/2. And so I wanted these 3 little rectangles even on this sheet. So after I've removed all the release paper for the Stampin' Dimensionals, I put these rectangles on my white little piece where I thought they should go. And then, and it's just to make sure that, you know, it's even, or as even as you can get. So the middle one goes down. I think this one is a little high. That's okay. It's a handmade card. And this one is perfect. Actually a little crooked, but so what? It's a handmade card. I tried to be as perfect as possible, but there was just no going back, you know. I put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of this piece, and I adhered it about 1/2 inch from the bottom of the card. I am going to stick a little band of cardstock on the top though. White on white is great, but I think I should have maybe done some dry embossing or something like that in the card front. You can always think about these things afterwards and say, well, if I was to do this card again, I would do this. So I just took a little piece of the Starry Sky cardstock, and here's some glue, and here are the new little tweezers that Stampin' Up came up with. They are sold with the embossing tool, the little embossing buddy, and it's got like this little pan, and it has tweezers too, but you can use the tweezers wherever you wanna. So I'm going to trim off that little bit there, and that is not my card. There's more to go. I ended up stamping this in the Tahitian Tide, and I was going to just leave it at Tahitian Tide, but then I stamped it again in the Parakeet Party, and then I stamped it one more time in the Starry Sky. So I came up with this sort of on the fly. It was not going to be like this. It was just going to be a strip behind, like a strip like the other one was, the other card. But I figured that they were too similar, and I kind of like this idea by matching the ink to the background. So it says happy to celebrate your day, but it's all in the in colors. And I put that celebrate even, or tried to. It turned out crooked, but whatever. It's a handmade card. I keep on saying that like it's an excuse. It's true though. If they wanted it perfect, they could go to Hallmark. If you want cat hair and some, you know, character to your card, then they get your cards from you. Here we are with the little, the dots, the in color dots. And again, I'm matching them to the side, like the actual page. Didn't like where that one was and moved it again. So there we go. That was card number 4. Oh, and here's some Wink of Stella, because, you know, there wasn't enough fun on this card. I squeezed it out on a block. I think this one has been a refill for me. I refill them with water to give them one little extra life, and then they move into paintbrushes if, or like for the classes that I host and stuff like that. If there's too much sparkle in it, I will still continue to use it, but when the sparkle is gone, I will use them as paintbrushes. All right, here we go with the 5th and final card. Here I have taken a card base, sliced it down the center. I am going to take that back half and I am going to cut it at 4 3/8 by 3. Then on these little bits, like the gold splatters, that's what I'm going for here. I've cut them in maybe a 1/2 inch. And then what I'm doing here is I angled it corner to corner and then cut it down the way so I'd have 2 little triangle pieces with gold on them. Same with this one. And then I go through all my little scraps that I've had during this paper pumpkin, and I'm trying to make little triangles. Yeah, there's no like trick to it. I'm making, I think they call this the scrappy design. So I had just some green bits left over and some blue bits left over. This is the piece that I cut down, and you can see I'm putting a lot of adhesive on it. So I'm going to start my scrappy by taking one of these white triangle pieces, and what you want to do is make sure that it's flat on one edge. So that will help keep your scrappy bits from not leaning to one side or the other. So I find it easier going from down to up, and I'm just going to, I sort of like butt the end of the cardstock against itself, against the other cardstock that's stuck down, and then I adhere it down. So, and I am just alternating white, green, blue, white, green, blue, white, green, blue. And it really doesn't matter. It's whatever you feel, how you want things to go. Look at that. I didn't even put a green one in there. I'm trying to butt it up against the white, but the white is thinner than the blue, and it wasn't catching correctly. So, and then like, I think that if you're using pieces that are too thin, that might not be an easy task, but this would look good any kind of designer series paper that is special, or you know, like gold foiling, or like some kind of design, a design that all goes together. You can just use cardstock and do this kind of a technique. And I learned this technique from a fellow named Bruno Bertucci. He's a good friend of mine. He is married to Kylie Bertucci, who is also a good friend of mine. And they're out of Australia. And he came up with this, and we were all enamored by it, going, how did you do that? And he's like, well, it's so simple. We're like, no, it's not. And then we found out how simple it was. And then we're like, yeah, you're right. It is simple, but it's a cool technique. I always like this part. It's like giving the paper a haircut. So you just turn it around and cut off the bits, and there you go. So I slathered it with adhesive, dimensional adhesive. And now I'm stamping the card with a whole bunch of Parakeet Party splatters. If you were around, I don't know, maybe in 2014 or 2015 when Gorgeous Grunge was around, we still talk about that stamp set because we really like the splatters. Okay, and there you go. So now I'm going to use the Parakeet Party again to stamp just 4. And then right on top of the U. So I popped that circle up with dimensionals and placed it on the card. And then I'm coming in with my Parakeet Party in color dots so that, yeah, they're all matchy-matchy. And speaking of in color, this is probably a good time for me to share with you that I have an in color club that you could get all of the things. So if you're just like me and you need to get all the new in colors and all of that, it's something that you might want to consider. I'll have some pictures here up in a minute, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So it's like a in color club for 5 months. You start in month 1 and go to month 5, whatever. You'll get all the new colors and all the new things. And then there's free gifts. Like basically I give you the markers for free. You'll get ink refills, stamp pad, ribbon, paper, and blends markers. And then on the opposite months, you'll get like embellishments and papers, all that sort of stuff. So again, I invite you to join me. I will put a link in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.